Hey everyone, we're back with the last and final part of our card review of the Fates Voyage Onward expansion. We're going to go over the final two champions, their cards, and a good bunch of variety cards that have been revealed so far. So let's get into it. Capsize, the 4 mana slow Ionian spell. Recall an enemy to increase the cost of the next unit your opponent plays this round by 2. Another recall, fitting for Ionia. The only issue is that it's slow. But the effect of making the next unit your opponent plays increased by 2 mana is quite strong, actually. Especially against decks that are trying to curve out or, I guess, flood the board. For example, if you do this on, say, on turn 4, for example, against a deck like discard aggro or pirates or something that's trying to get lots of little units out there, when they start off with their first unit and you capsize it back, it makes it very awkward for the next units to come down. So I actually don't think this is too bad of a card. I've seen a lot of people talk about it, thinking that since it's slow, it might not be that good compared to something like Will or Homecoming or all those other ones, but I think it's actually gonna possibly find some space in decks, but it's just hard to tell with how Ionia currently is and what kind of decks are out there for Ionia right now. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Next we have 3 mana fast Demacian spell, Gentleman's Duel. Give an ally +0/+2. That ally and an enemy strike each other. So we got another single combat for Ionia. But this time it gives an ally 2 health. Don't see how this is any better than single usually, because the 1 mana difference is usually what makes it a lot better. Giving an ally +2 is nice, so it might find a home in like the Galio or Formidable decks, Fiora decks, things like that. I think you can cast this just for the health, so that's actually not bad either. But otherwise, I'm not sure how much play this one will see over something like single, or if you're playing Dragon Strafing Strike. Maybe only in the Formidable decks I could see this one being run over the slow speed strike spell that heals them. Not Shield of Durand, right? The Gust of Wind, Gust of War or something. But over that one, maybe I could see it being replaced with Gentleman's Duel here. That one, not too much promise, I don't think. So I guess we'll see. Next we have Bursting Backpack. So 1 mana Bandle Burst Speed spell. For each Bursting Backpack you've played this game, plant 4 Chimes in your deck, 4 Poison Puff Caps in the enemy deck, and then you create another backpack in your deck. This one's pretty interesting. So this is almost like Gohard and Wildfire, where they replace themselves after being played. Except this one's a burst speed spell. And yeah, it does a lot. So the Chimes go anywhere in the deck. So it's not like the top part of the deck like usual, or top X cards. Puff Caps as well go anywhere. But the thing is, it multiplies over time for each Bursting Backpack you played. And then something that I've heard people talk about for this one as well, especially Ikato, is that Shellfolk could make use of this in Eternal. It's like another win condition. Instead of, I believe currently it's just like Poison Darts or Pokey Sticks or something like that. But this one will be a lot better, and it fits the game plan a bit more. Other decks that I could see this in, nothing. I can't think of anything just like from the get-go that would want to main deck this. I could see decks being built around this, which might be pretty good. It's also a Bard card. So I wonder if anything, maybe Bard Nora or something could fit this in as another kind of win condition or card to help boost his power level. The only issue with that deck is I think it needs a bit more draw for it to use something like this. But I could see something like Bursting Backpack dot deck just being built, you know, constantly searching for it, replaying it, maybe even copying it with like PNZ or something. So this one's a really interesting card that I'm excited to see where it goes. Just like Wildfire, I think Wildfire has a bit more potential than this one. But this one's actually not bad, especially if you're gonna hit it off like Conch or Trinket Trade or something like that. It's like a fine pick if there's nothing else useful that you need. Next we have Skip, King of the Reef. 2 mana, 1/2 elusive. What is this dumb smile? Play. Pick one of 2 non-champion cards from the enemy hand. I capture it. One of my favorite things in card games is hand disruption, and I really like what they've done here. So when you play this little guy, you pick one of 2 cards, and he just kind of holds it until they can remove it. And then I'm guessing this goes back into the enemy's hand when he's removed. So he's not particularly strong. Like, he dies to a Mystic Shot or a Snake Challenge or anything really. But the point is, he does disrupt your opponent's plays depending on what you can get and the timing that you play this guy. He's also elusive, which I guess is good. Get in some free little damage. Any Bandle elusive decks that used to run Bandle Commando just for the sake of having an elusive now have another option to run, which I think is really neat. And a better one, I'd probably say, because most Bandle elusive decks that I remember only played Commando, not even for the Owlcat, just because it was a 1/2. So I think Skip is pretty good. I think he's going to be very annoying to play against, and I think his ability to capture a card, his ability to 1, tell you 2 cards in the opponent's hand, and 2, pick 1 out of their hand, and permanently have it until removed is really good. And I don't think, like, if you also think about it, it also costs mana to remove Skip to get your card back. So he costs 2, but to remove him will definitely take more than that. So I think he's a really good card, and I can't even remember what Bandle decks are in Standard now, but I'm sure we're going to see something with Skip here. Next up, we have Watery Grave. 3 mana slow Shadow Isles card. Obliterate 6 cards from the bottom of the enemy deck. Alright, right off the bat, it does not look good. But I love Mill, and I'm hoping that this is going to work somehow. It's not even really like support for anything that we currently have, because I don't think there's like actually a good Mill deck that exists out there. There's Maokai, but he kind of does it all on his own. There's, I guess, Most Wanted. So there's slowly something starting to form there. This is good, I guess, if you want to, you know, finish off your opponent after leveling up Maokai, milling their deck. So this is like the nail in a coffin for them. You could probably do something like copy Watery Grave a bunch of times with PNZ and Station Archivist and I don't know, Evil K and stuff. But otherwise, I don't really see where this is going. It doesn't seem too good at the moment. But I like Mill. Mill can go somewhere. Hopefully somewhere good in the future. So let's see where this one goes. But for now, it does not look that good. Next up, we have 2 mana Shadow Isles, 2/3 Lonely Chime Slime. I love this card. When another ally dies or last breath, plant 4 chimes in your deck. It's it's Sea Scarab, but for chimes, which I think is really neat. It's really good, and being in Shadow Isles means you're in the region where a lot of units are killing themselves, or you're killing your own units, or, you know, things like that. Like Hate Spike, it's a mutual trade. So the thing is, this also works really well with husks, because if the husk dies, you plant 4 chimes, you get something else. The only issue is that it plants 4 chimes randomly in your deck, so it's not within the top X cards. It's somewhere in your deck, 4 chimes get put, which is okay if you can draw them, or if you're playing Bard maybe, or something that draws a lot. But otherwise, it's a bit, you know, it could be anywhere. But 2 mana, 2/3 is pretty decent stat line for something like this. Just like Sea Scarab, except Sea Scarab grows to like a 5/6 or something. But I think this one can find a home for sure in probably any Bard decks. Because, like, what do we have? We have Bard Nora. I could see it going there. We have Bard... Oh, Bard Maokai could be a thing, again. Oh, that might work pretty well with the saplings dying and all that. Let's see. We got Bard Garen is a maybe. That one's pretty tough. Not sure if it would fit in Bard Garen, but most Bard decks I can see it fitting in. As for a Shadow Isles deck, maybe you could play it in, like, Evelyn... I don't know if this fits in Evelyn Viego, but it could be like some sort of a Husk deck. I just think it works really well with the Husks. But I think it's a pretty good card, and I don't know. We'll have to see if this helps out Bard decks enough to get them kind of shining in the meta again. But in theory, this card seems good if it can stick, and if you can get a lot of procs off of it. The other good thing is that on its own death, it does also plant 4 chimes, so at least you get something, even if you don't get to kill anything else. Next, we have Headmistress Talsi. Allied attack and support effects activate an additional time. It's a 5 mana 5/5 Noxus. Allied attack and support effects. So, so things like, I guess Lulu doesn't matter. Like Esmis would be neat. Tarek, kind of. What does Noxus has? What, 2 supports or 1? It has a quick attack one. I think it has 1 more, but I can't remember what it was. But the quick attack one doesn't really matter. So those kind of things are interesting. There's very few support effects that are good to be doubled. Like there's Trevor Snooze Bottom, which is kind of funny with this. You get double Mumble Sprites from him. There's Mountain Sojourners. It would end up giving +4/+4. That's pretty neat. Although it's also a 5 cost, so might be clunky. So for the support side, I can't think of too many lower cost supports that you'd want to double. Hicks, maybe. Hicks is okay, I guess. Make something +4/+2, right? Pretty big. But otherwise, yeah. But I think the allied attack part is the really interesting one. Because there's a lot of attack stuff that you'd want to double. Like, for example, there's Zed. You get double Shadows. There's Gwen. She'd get double the Hollowed and double of her Snip ability. There's Ash, Legion Marauder, and Captured Greyback. Those are in region too, which are pretty neat. Marauder's kind of cool, actually. Although it comes down on 5, so I don't know. Maybe it's okay. It could curve into strength and numbers or something. There's Otacon. Double that. I think this card's pretty neat. Also anything really in Annie Jin would work. Annie herself. Oh, I almost forgot about that whole thing. Annie Jin would work. Not Crack Shot. Crack Shot's like when allies attack. It's not like an attack skill. There's a Boom Crew Rookie. There's what's the one drop? Legion Saboteur. So there's quite a few good attack abilities that you'd want to double with her. She is 5 cost though, so it might take a bit to kind of get this package going and sticking. But 5/5 should last around for a while. So I guess we'll have to see what pops up from there. I could see some sort of maybe mid-range, maybe Marauders might be the way to go, but I don't know. I feel like if you, I don't know if you can play this in Annie Jin, because like you're trying to do your stuff early on, right? And if your stuff early on was removed, and then you put her down, it's just kind of, she's not doing much. But I feel like if your early stuff isn't removed, you're kind of already winning. So, I don't know. I think there'll be something with her. I just don't know what yet. Gwen seems like really neat. Gwen and Zed were like the first two that I was thinking. I'll try something with that and we'll see how that goes. Next we have 5 mana 3/2 PNZ Exalted Cloud Winder. Cloud Winder? Anyways, quick attack. If you've drawn 3+ cards this round, I cost 2 less. When I'm summoned, draw 2 at the next round start. Draw 2 at the next... I cost 2 less. So, if you've procced the first part, drawn 2 cards, it costs 3. That's okay. That's pretty good. For a 3 mana, 3/2 quick attack, draw 2 cards next turn. That's pretty good. It just means you have to draw 2 extra cards during your turn. And that seems like pretty easy to do. With like Formula, Glimpse, Drum Solo, Whispered Words, that kind of stuff, right? Or I guess like you could do like smaller spells like Time Trick and Time Trick. But the second effect, when I'm summoned, draw 2 at the next round start, that's pretty good. I mean, so 3 mana, draw 2 at the next round start with a 3/2 quick attack body. I think this card's pretty good. I don't know exactly what this would fit in yet, but just the thought of summoning this thing and then I get 2 free cards next turn is really neat. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't give it to you right away, but still, if you're not playing a, but yeah, that seems pretty good. Oh, not a bird either. That's weird. Oh, I don't know what this thing is. Anyways, next up we have Ysilla, Figurehead of the Deep. 6 mana PNZ 4/4. When you play an elemental spell or skill, copy it with the same targets. 6 mana. When you play an elemental spell or skill, copy with... I mean, it seems a bit too costly for its effect, unless you're holding like... I feel like it's also 4/4. I feel like it's something that can be removed pretty easily by the time it's turn 6. So maybe if you're holding like, I don't know, Wildfires, or I guess what's the other card? Deluge, right? That might be okay as well. I don't know. It seems like the stat line's not great for 6 mana. The ability is pretty good if it can stick. But from what I recall, most of the elemental spells are slow, if I'm remembering correctly. So I guess we'll have to see how that one ends up. I know in PNZ they have that Divine Draft that pings too, but that's also slow. There was the new card, Divine Whirlwind. That one was a fast, and that was like not a wannabe blowback, but it was like blowback. But that one might be interesting actually. How much did that cost? That was like 5 and it got reduced to 2? No, I think it got reduced to 3. That one actually might be pretty good with this. So it's like deal 6 to a unit and then 4 to the Nexus. Maybe that's not bad actually. But yeah, other than that, I feel like it won't survive 2 whole turns, let alone maybe 1 turn it'll survive. But I don't know if it will survive longer than that. But I still think like the effect itself is pretty good. It's just the cost and the stat line. By that time, I feel like it's going to be removed easily by, I don't know, Double Mystic or, I don't know, Jace Challenger, Hex Obliterator, something like that, you know? I don't know. This one just seems a bit too much for its effect. The body's too weak for its effect. But I'm sure someone will make it work. Probably me. Next up we have Howling Gale. 3 mana, slow PNZ. Spell. Deal 2 to a unit. Slow, okay. Deal 2 to a unit. Increase my damage by 1. For each other card you've played this round? Up to 3 times? So this is possibly a 3 mana deal 5 to a unit slow. That's pretty good. And in PNZ, it's not that hard to play a bunch of cards. It's like the cost reduction region, right? It's like you got some cheap spells you can play, like Seraphine. Like Seraphine decks always have cheap spells. And I guess if Seraphine's leveled, playing a new spell will count as 2 for this. So it's almost always going to be 5. I guess the only downside is that it's slow. It's an elemental. It's pretty good. I could see it being included into a lot of PNZ decks that run a lot of cheap cards, like mainly Seraphine is the main thing I'm thinking of. Seraphine could definitely put this in as like a 1 of, maybe even a 2 of. But I think they value more fast speed spells than this one. Though it being an elemental, maybe we'll see some sort of elemental deck pop up, PNZ elementals. Next we got Gale Song Call, 1 mana slow PNZ. Summon a Gale Song Swallow. Oh, that's the card that the other one, Gale Song Flock, was referring to. And it is a 1 mana 2/1 bird Gale Song Swallow. Alright, cool. I don't know. It's an elemental card. Gives you a 2/1. Slow. Don't know really what to say about this one. It's like, you know, like whatever. I mean, and I think again in Seraphine decks where there's a ton of 1-ofs, it's a nice 1-of. I mean, they're running Jury Rig. Why not run this thing? I wonder if there's like a bird deck can do. 1 mana 2/1. No keywords. Darn. Bird. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird, underwhelming a bit. But it's like okay at the same time. Yeah, it's just kind of like it's a card. 5 mana landmark PNZ Sunken Temple. Round end updraft your hand. Great. Okay. Round start. Draw that many cards +1. Great. That's actually great. Huh. This card seems pretty good. Like, really good. Okay. This card's like... the more I think about it, it sounds really good. I'll start off with this. The main downside is you will never know what your hand is until the beginning of the round. Which really sucks. So you can't make any plans. You can try to set up your whatever you're gonna draw, hopefully. But it's a big downside. But the upside's pretty crazy. So round end, you updraft your hand, which means it goes back into your deck and then reduces the cost of all those cards by 1. Then you draw that many cards. So if I got rid of 5 cards, their all cost is down by 1. And I draw 5 cards +1. So I'll draw 6 cards. Plus I draw for the round start, right? 7 cards. So if I got rid of 0 cards, I draw an extra card at the beginning of my turn? Is that what this is saying? That's what it sounds like. Unless there's something that says I can't do it with 0 cards, then that's unfortunate. That is not as crazy as I thought. Still pretty decent. But just the thought of if I updraft 0 cards in my hand, I guess get like double draw phase next turn. So I don't know. Updrafting is also like a really neat mechanic. Is so the next time you see those cards, they're cheaper and cheaper every time. I think this card is pretty neat. I think it sounds good. I don't know what kind of deck this would go in. I think the effect's good. I just don't know what kind of... It would have to be a deck where you can always, I guess, play something, or always have like a good playable, like single strong cards standalone. I don't know. It's really weird. The downside of getting rid of your hand every turn and not knowing what you're gonna draw is like really awkward. Like really awkward. But the effect to draw and discount cards is like also really good. This one's really confusing to me. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like 5 mana is also pretty later into the game as well. And it's like, again, 5 mana do nothing. Landmark, possibly even removed. So, this is a tough one. It has a lot of promise, I think. I'll say that. I just don't know what kind of deck this would be in that you'd reliably draw a playable hand every time. I don't know. It might actually be... Maybe in like the BB Seraphine decks. That seems like pretty decent in there. But I guess you won't run bar anymore? Maybe you still play bar. Oh, the problem with the BB Seraphine, playing in BB Seraphine is like, you a lot of the time you're setting up your combo and you're holding your stuff. So you can't really do that either, I guess. I don't know. Excited for this one though. So yeah, hopefully it finds a home. Next we have 2 mana PNZ 2/3. Mariam, Temple Caretaker. Play Updraft 1. So shuffle 1 card in, reduce its cost by 1 to either draw 1 or refill your spell mana. This card's really good. Like, really good. 2 mana 2/3. Good already. Play Updraft 1. Not good, but it gets discounted. But you can replace it with a new card, or just get your spell mana back. So on turn 2, if I wanted to do this, I would get a 2 mana 2/3 plus 3 mana. That's kind of funny, huh? That sounds like a really good card. And Updraft... Updraft 1, you just get rid of, like... If it's later on, or if you do stuff, you get rid of something fleeting, and you just draw a new card, or you just get your spell mana back. If it's early in the game, you just get rid of something that you won't be playing, like a bar or something. Or... I don't know, like, yeah, you get rid of something that you won't be dropping it for, like, another 3-4 turns, and then you just cycle it, or get your spell mana back. This card's, like, really good. Stat-wise is good. Effect is good. Versatile, because it's got a choose one effect. I don't know. PNZ is getting some really interesting things. Oh, damn. I don't know. New staple, I think, in PNZ. Probably the best card so far that we've seen. Yeah, I think so. Next up, we have 2 mana 3/1 PNZ Quick Attack Windborn Mariner. If you've drawn 3+ cards this round, I cost 2 less. I cost 2, so I'm free. Drawn 3 cards this round, I'm free. Okay. 3. So 0 cost 3/1 Quick Attack. As long as you've drawn 2 cards. That seems also pretty good. Not like ridiculously good. 3/1 is a nice stat line for something with quick attack. Obviously, the unfortunate part is the 1 health. Dies to any ping, but sometimes, maybe even most of the time, it's going to be a 0 cost. That's pretty good. decks that it would fit into. I don't think this one is like a Seraphine card. This one seems more like a maybe like a PNZ aggro kind of deck or something. You just kind of drop a bunch of these guys, start swinging. Because you don't really want to, like, you're fine to use them on defense, but their strength lies in attacking, right? Because of the quick attack 3-1. It's just, what PNZ aggro decks are there really that would draw multiple cards? There's like discard aggro, and that kind of draws cards, but not in the way that you'd like. I guess Rummage. Yeah, Rummage is a good one. The other one I was thinking about is Augmented Experimenter, and that wouldn't like work out too well unless you draw it off of him. There is, I guess, Shadow Isles PNZ. Maybe that plays like Stalking Shadows and stuff, right? Plays Unto Dusk. Maybe Formula. Could be good there. I don't know. We'll have to see. Drawn 2, like, yeah, it just seems to fit more in an aggressive deck. It's not bad in other decks. Like, just to have in there, sometimes it's a free 3-1. But I think its strength will be more in like quicker board-wide decks. Not bad, not bad. Next up we have Eye of the Storm, 4 mana burst PNZ spell. Elemental. Gotta make note of these. Elemental. Give an ally +2/+0 this round, and you draw 2. So it's a 4 mana draw 2 spell that we're all used to seeing. But this one gives an ally +2 this round. That's pretty interesting, I guess, with the quick attack guy. PNZ though, what do you really want to give +2? Maybe elusive cards? PNZ isn't really known to be attackers much. Teemo maybe, I guess. Actually, this might be better than Formula in those kind of aggressive decks. It's like an okay draw card. I don't think it's anything too special. The +2 attack is really nice in certain situations. But like I said, generally, PNZ I don't think wants to attack too much. They're more about controlling the board and drawing cards and doing other things. But definitely not too bad. Elemental as well. It could work with that other card. Let me see it here. I don't know how to say this name. Iacilla? Yeah, so it could double there or something, but it's okay. Not bad. But like it has to compete with like Formula and Drum Solo. Which I don't know, 1 mana cheaper than Drum Solo, 2 mana cheaper than Formula, but Formula gives you spell mana, so it's like a tough decision. I don't think you'd run this over those though. Or at least over Formula you probably wouldn't. So finally we have Janna. New champion. 4 mana, 2/4. PNZ. Play updraft 2 to draw 2 at the next round start. So you get rid of 2 cards in your hand, discount them, back into the deck, and then you draw 2 next round start. Okay. So when you play her, you basically lose 2 cards this turn. Okay. Then each round, the first 3 times you draw a card, reduce its cost by 1 this round. That's pretty neat. So you play Janna, and then you just play like, I don't know, Time Trick or what was the card we just saw? The Eye of the Storm. And then they have their cost reduced by 1 for the round. That's pretty good. So she'd probably be a card that you want to play a bit later on, so you can chain draw cards in case something happens to her. I mean, she's 2/4 as well, so she can stick around quite a bit. She does die to like Soul Harvest and Culling Strike and all that, but that's not too big of a deal, I think, right now. And then level up, I've seen you play 6 cost reduced. I've seen you play 6 Cost reduced cards. Okay. So she works with herself on the cost reduction. So she has to see you play 6 cost reduced cards. So doesn't sound too hard because of her effect. And the rest of the other cards that we've seen, like the Windborn Mariner and like all the updraft stuff. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't seem too hard to level. And when she levels, she becomes this bird god angel thing, and she gets elusive. She's a 4 mana 3/5 round start, draw 1. All right, you just draw an extra card at the round start, and when you draw a card, reduces cost by 1 this round. Okay, so basically that part's the same, except there's no cap on it anymore. Drawing an extra card at round start is pretty nutty. And she's elusive. Why is she elusive just randomly? That's kind of cool. So she can actually get some decent damage in because she's elusive. She nets you cards, and she reduces the cost of cards you draw. That's quite a lot. All those people who love drawing cards, all those draw simps, all those P&Z Ionia simps are gonna love this. Oh, and her champion spell is Eye of the Storm, the draw card, so yeah, definitely she's looking pretty good. More ways than one. Wow, yeah, I think I'm so far most excited to play with her in a lot of different decks now. She seems like just as a good all-around champion. So like, Bar works perfectly with her. Wow, I guess in Eternal you could play Glorious. A bit late, but that works as well. Wow, she's really good. I think she's really neat. Next, we have these 5 explorers, or whatever you want to call them, pioneers. But yeah, you got these 5 dual region cards, which is really nice, and they are where should I start? Let me start with the units themselves. So the first one is Shadow Isles Targon. 3 mana 2/2 lifesteal. Play, you pick an explorer spell to create in hand. So all of them do this. Play, pick a explorer spell to create in hand. So they all do that. I'll get into them in just a second. The next one is a 2 mana 3/1 Noxus Shurima. So, that one 3/1, 2 mana. 3 mana 2/1. Isn't there already like a bunch of 3/1s? Is like Rock Hopper. There's, I guess Noxus has Trifarian Assessor. No, not Assessor. Glory Seeker. 5/1 not block. Maybe it's okay. I like the lifesteal one so far, actually. I think that was like, it reminds me of the Cultist lifesteal. Keep of the Box. Next we have 2 mana 1/1 Attune Vandal Ionia. Vandal Ionia. I don't know if they need that. 2 mana 1/1 Attune. I guess let's see what the spells do. And then 3 mana 2/3 Challenger Demacia Freljord. Challenger's pretty neat. Sucks that it's a 2/3 instead of a 3/2, but. And then we got 3 mana 1/4. 1/4, okay. Elusive. Oh, that's interesting. 1/4 elusive stat line's a bit odd. Bilgewater P&Z. That's interesting. And then so as for the spells that they all pick, whenever you play them, you get to pick from one of these 4 spells. 4 spells that all these explorers pick from when they're played. So the first one is a 2 mana focus Shurima spell, if that matters. Explorer's Blunder. Disable an enemy's positive keywords this round, and again at next round start. So it's kind of like Quicksand for 2 turns without the minus attack and without burst speed, but it's like Quicksand's effect for 2 turns. That's kind of neat. And then you've got 2 mana slow, Shadow Isles, Explorer's Malfunction, destroy a unit's equipment. Okay, equipment destruction's pretty nice. 2 mana focus, Targon, Explorer's Refreshments, heal an ally or your Nexus 2. Okay, that seems like a generic one that anyone could pick, really. Since these are all multi-region. And then 2 mana Noxus, slow spell, Explorer's Excavation, destroy a landmark. Ooh, okay, so these cards are all really, really neat. So since all the regions are incorporated here in the units, it means these spells are available to any of them. That means every region now has another way of landmark removal. Some regions every region has landmark removal of some form, but some regions landmark removals just weren't as good, I guess. You've got like Freljord has Hit That Stairs, which is a good card. It's just very, very late, and it destroys obliterates all landmarks. Then you've got Sunk Cost for Bilgewater, like things like that come to the top of my head. So it's nice that they have another way to remove landmarks. Same with equipment removal as well. Another way to remove equipment instead of having to play those very specific cards that each region has. The other two, the refreshments, the heal an ally or Nexus 2, and the Explorer's Blunder, are nice kind of sort of generic cards. The heal, I'm sure you could always find a way to use. And the remove the positive keywords is a bit more niche, but also something that you could find a use for always during the course of a game. Worst case, they're all discard fodder, or you'll find a way. But I actually like these cards. They're all very the units themselves are not that great, but they're very nice tech cards. So cards that you'll put in because of certain meta decks that you see running around. Like, say you decide to grind today and you're running into, I don't know, Seraphine Bard decks or Sun Discs or something, all like your past 5 games, and you want to stick in like 2 of these just to give yourself a better edge, something like that, or I don't know, you're running into Aatrox or Jax all the time, and you're like, oh man, I wish I had more equipment removal. You just toss in one of your Explorer units from whatever region you are, and just heal with it that way, instead of having to rely on like Fracture or Quietus or something, So I really like what they've done with these. The units themselves, again, I think the elusive one is actually pretty neat. 1/4 elusive is a bit hard to remove. I like the lifesteal one a lot. Challenger's like okay, but it's 2/3. The other 2 are just kind of like whatever. Like 3/1 is nice, just as like a 3 attacks nice. 2 mana 3/1 is like okay, get some attacks in, or you get to trade efficiently, like a 2/3 or something like that. The 1/1 attune, that one does not excite me. So I don't know. I think these cards are really neat to have. They remind me of the Tellstones. They remind me of the Tellstones, giving you access to many different options. I'm really excited to see these cards into the game. And then next we have Seismic Shard, 7 mana slow Targon. If you behold a Titanic unit, I cost 3 less. Deal 7 to a unit. So before we go on, I guess I should say what Titanic is. Titanic here is a unit that has 8+ health or power. So it counts buffs as well. So if you have a Malphite in hand, he would be a Titanic unit because his health is 8 or more. If I had a Zoe in hand that was buffed by Destiny's Call and became a 9/9, it became a Titanic unit. If it falls below either criteria, it does not become a Titanic unit anymore. So if Tryndamere went below his 8 attack, he's not Titanic anymore. And I would not behold him as my Titanic unit anymore. So, back to Seismic Shard. Deal 7 to a unit for 7. But it can cost 4 if you have a Titanic unit. Also an elemental spell. Gotta keep these in mind. This card's I don't know. The cards that really like nuke one unit don't usually seem to be that good, especially if they're slow. It's nice that it's in Targon actually, because Targon does lack some removal. Other than that, I don't know, not too impressed unless we start seeing bigger units become the meta and we need to deal 7 to it. Because most of the time, there's better hard removal that you're running, or there's other damaging spells that you're running. Because units usually don't get up to 7 that you need to deal with. I don't know. But unless like there's more of these Titans coming around, we'll have to see how this one does. But for now, it looks very underwhelming. Next, we have this really cool looking bird. It is an 8 mana 5/8. Probably my favorite artwork so far, next to Watery Grave. It is Herald of Celestial Convergence. On play, activate other allies' daybreaks and nightfall effects. And when it daybreaks, it grants Overwhelm to itself, and when it nightfalls, it grants Spell Shield to itself. Ooh. That's a lot. It does a lot. Let's start with its own Daybreak and Nightfall effect. Overwhelm's kind of like whatever, because it is only 5 attack. So it's okay. But for an 8 cost unit, you kind of expect something more when it has Overwhelm. Like for example, Saurian, Glacial Saurian is a 5/4 and 5 mana, and it has Overwhelm. This is an 8/8. And if you're playing this in Daybreak or Nightfall decks, usually there aren't many permanent buffs. So you'd have to chain this with something else if you want to make good use of the Overwhelm. But Overwhelm's still not bad. The Spell Shield, really nice though. Giving Spell Shield to just a giant unit that is somewhat threatening. A 5/8's pretty threatening. Making it even harder to remove with Spell Shield is quite annoying for your opponent. And then if you happen to have Ravoon on board, you can trigger both. Or if you happen to Daybreak it first and then play Unto Dusk or something, you can trigger both as well. So as for the play effect, that effect is really strong. So if you're playing something like Twilight or Soul Lesbians or whichever, you know, some sort of Daybreak Nightfall deck, and you play this big bird, all your Daybreak and Nightfall effects activate. So if I have a Leona on board, if I've got a Diana on board, if I got Doom Beast on board, if I've got Ravoon on board, all of it activates. If I've got another one of these things on board, they all activate. Winding Light, Solari Soldier, Sunforger. It's like, ooh, it's a lot. It really does a lot. And usually with Daybreak specifically, you usually have a board sitting there. And usually they're like underwhelming statted units when the Daybreak wears off. But with this, you can just trigger them all again at once. And if you have Leona, you just start stunning units. Nightfall, though, Nightfall is more of a... Usually I find Nightfall, you kind of trade off units or they get removed quicker because you're a bit more of a faster deck with Nightfall. Unless Unless you can build it like slower Nightfall, maybe. But yeah, it'll be. I really like this card a lot. I think it's really helpful for this archetype. It's another finisher. You could even do turn 7 Winding Light into this turn 9 if you're attacking on the odds, or you know, vice versa, something like that. I really like this card a lot for it. The only question in terms of playability is how good is that archetype itself? So we'll have to see how it does in standard. Next we have this 7 mana 8/6 Freljord, Rond the Magma Serpent. Play, summon 3 Sigils of the Storm, and we have Sigils of the Storm, which is a 1 mana Freljord token, landmark. Sigils of the Storm stack, so they like powder kegs. They won't take up more than 1 spot on the board. And Titanic allies cost 1 less. Destroy me when you play a Titanic ally. So, so in other words, what this is saying is, for each one of these you have, allies that have 8 or more attack or health will have their cost reduced by the number of these. So, Tryndamere, for example, if you have 3 of these, Tryndamere goes down to a 5 cost. That seems pretty strong. If we have a good, reliable way to keep stacking these up. They're really, if anyone plays Flesh and Blood, they remind me of the Seismic Surges that Guardians can make. It's sort of the same concept. It reduces the cost of your bigger cost cards, so you can play them. And so Rond here is an example of one of the cards that will create these Sigils of the Storm. So on play, it's going to create 3 of them. It is also a Titan itself. So you could go, I guess, Rond into Rond? Is there enough mana for that? No, you'd be 1 off. That would be 11 mana. So Rond actually seems like a pretty okay card. It's just like a ramp card, sort of, but it's 7 mana already. So unless there's something you're really trying to like turbo out, like a Titanic card you're trying to turbo out, I don't know how good this one is. Hopefully there's better Sigil of the Storm cards for us to see, but I don't know. Right now, Rond is like, nice. But not the best. Next we have Berserker Ursine. Freljord, 6 mana, 5/3. When you play a spell or skill, summon a Sigil of the Storm. Okay, see, now we're getting into the better Sigil summoning effects. This one is a bit weaker because it got 3 health, so it might not stick around long. Also pretty expensive for its low health, 6 cost, but its effect akin to like Starlight Seer. What's the gem card? Gem Merchant, I think, something like that. Gem Crafter. The ones where you play spells and things happen right away. Those ones all buffed cards. This one, essentially for every spell and skill that you play, you're discounting your next big card by 1. So if you can somehow chain a bunch of cards to this dying, so if you go like summon Berserker Ursine and you and they go get excited, blowback or something, you know, you can go, I don't know, you can go Scroll Chant, you can go Warning Shot, I don't know what your other region is going to be, but you just start chaining spells. You build up these Sigil of the Storms. If you can do something like that, I think this card's like really, really pushing its value. I feel like on average, though, you might just get 1 spell off or something, which is okay. The only problem is, again, 6 cost is a lot. for just a 5/3. So if there's a way for it not to be removed right away, or a way to protect it, then it's really gonna get some value. It also depends on what you have as the payoff to summon, which Titanic unit you've got. Next, we have 3 mana, 2/3 Freljord, Valhyr's Prophet. When I'm summoned, summon a Sigillus Storm. So it's a 3 mana, 2/3. So kind of below average stats. And then it's essentially ramping up to your next Titanic unit. It's not too exciting. I still don't know, like, off the top of my head, which Titanic units are worth really ramping into. In my mind, there's like a lot of 8 plus health units and a 8 plus attack units as well, but I don't know how many of those are actually worth, you know, playing these ramp cards into. Like Tryndamere is like okay, Malphite is Malphite. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how the next champion here really works, to see if they are perhaps worth going into. But overall, I think it's an okay if you're trying to build towards the Titanic units. It's a 3 mana 2/3. Good for a block, maybe 2. So the next cards here revealed with the next champion, Volibear. And we're going to start here with Flame Caller Caprine. The 4 mana 3/2 Freljord units with Tough. And it says, when you play an elemental spell or skill, forge me. That could grow pretty big, actually. Especially in Freljord, where I think a majority of the elemental spells are in. You've got like Brittle Steel, Harsh... Any of the freezes, really, are all elemental, plus Avalanche. Crystalline Stormraptor is an ability. So there's quite a few elemental spells in the region, and then if you want to combine it with something else, like PNZ has some elemental spells with Janna, Bilgewater as well. So depending on how it goes, it could really become a huge follower to deal with. Other than that, if you're not playing something with, I think, a nice chunk of elemental spells or skills, it's not that great. So I don't know. I'm thinking, yeah, I can't really think of a deck right now that exists that would play like a lot of the Freljord spells. Like it's nice that it has Tough as well, so it would survive like an Avalanche or Stormraptor or Ice Shard multiple times, things like that. But at the moment, I don't know if there's many decks that would run all that. So it'll be neat to see. I think this one has a lot of potential, especially as the card pool expands and more elemental stuff gets added. This could get out of hand, especially if you give it a weapon and it forges the weapon. Because without a weapon, it just forges itself, right? It becomes like giant stats on it. But if it had a weapon equipped it and it just carried on the stats, then that would be pretty good as well, I think. Next we have Clash of Giants, 16 mana Freljord slow spell. Summon 2 random Titanic followers. I cost 1 less for each elemental spell or skill you've played this game. Max 10. Okay, so in the same vein as Flame Caller, it would have to be in a deck that plays a lot of elemental spells or skills. The max it can go down to is being a 6 cost from its own effect. So I guess the other way is to somehow cheat out this spell or reduce it somehow. Like with I guess you could use like Serene Size Singer is an option as well. I can't think of anything else, but probably just something with a lot of elemental spells and skills. But I don't think we've really seen too many that would... Like, it's a good top end for some sort of deck. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, but it's interesting. And then as for Titanic followers, from what I'm thinking of, a lot of them are kind of just vanilla beat sticks. There's only very few that are actually very threatening. Like I can think of Otacon or Baron, Ladros. I don't know. And then you've got, like, on the flip side, you've got like Karina Raza. You've got like Infinite Mind Splitter, I guess is like a sort of a vanilla. You've got, I don't know, not many good followers, but it's something to keep an eye on. And then we have Invocation of Thunder, 3 mana slow Freljord, draw 1, summon a Sigil of the Storm. Elemental. So that could actually be good for helping enable the other 2 cards we just saw. Summoning a Sigil of Storm might work out in Titanic sort of deck with like maybe Rond or Volibear if he ends up being a giant costed unit. Otherwise, it's just like not doing much. 3 mana, draw 1, slow speed. It's kind of like ramp basically, just to get out your bigger units earlier. But at 3 mana, it seems a bit costly just for that. But I guess if there's nothing better, if it could just be like a deck building cost to run this, if there's nothing better that you want to include, maybe the elemental tag might be useful if you're running Clash of Giants or Flamecaller. But otherwise, it's just kind of doesn't seem too impressive of a card to me. Next, we have 2 mana burst Freljord Sky Splitter. Give an ally +1/+3 this round. Elemental. Okay, this card's ridiculous. It's way better than Here to Help, I think. Yeah, it's definitely way better than Here to Help. Giving it 1/3 this round, 2 mana. It's an elemental as well. So, okay, this might be actually a really good card to help enable Flamecaller and Clash of Giants. Wow, 1/3 is like huge health to protect something. That's like, it's already a bit hard to remove 3 health units. So imagine giving it a whole, like, a doubling its health. Because to remove 3 health units, usually, like, the most common way is dealing exactly 3 rather than overkilling it. Whereas 2 health units, you've got millions of options. 3 health units, you don't have too many. So this card's kind of nutty. And I think this is probably one of the best cards revealed so far. And I mean, all these cards have been looking so very, very interesting and fun to play with. But this one's like a really good generic card. And then finally, we've got Volibear. 9 mana, 10/10. So he is a Titanic. Freljord. Play. Elemental skill. Play 3 Relentless Storm 3 times. Each one targets a different random enemy or the enemy nexus if none. And level up. Round end. You've dealt 50+ damage. So, okay, and a Relentless Storm here is elemental skill. Deal 4 to a unit. If it's dead or gone, deal 2 to the enemy nexus instead. Okay, so his ability, Relentless Storm, is kind of like Riptide Rex, where it deals damage to a unit, and then if the unit's gone, deals it to the nexus instead. Except it's like 4 and 2 instead of 2 and 1. That's a really strong ability. It's 9 mana, so it costs a lot. But with these Sigils of the Storm, you can get discounted quite a bit, especially with, like, you can curve into Rond into Volibear pretty easily. But when he comes down, he just kind of clears the board for you, because dealing 4 damage to unit is very solid and most likely will kill almost anything out there. And, well, I guess anything that you would normally see, like Seraphine, Janna, you've got Samira, you've got Ashe, you've got Akshan. Like, it just kills all of those. Obviously, it won't kill other Titanic units because they're too big, but 4 damage is a lot. And the fact that it targets a different random enemy each time means you get to clear at least 3 different things. Or sorry, not at least, but always it will hit 3 units, and they should be dying, I hope. And if they don't, then he's a 10-10, which is huge. And his level up is you've dealt 50 damage or more. And by turn 9, you're probably a good amount of the way there. And if not, his on-play ability will boost you up 12 if it hits all units. Or at least 6 if there is no units at all. And then the level up is Overwhelm, 11-11, and okay, his ability becomes Play or Attack. And play Relentless Storm 3 times, each one targets a different random enemy. And other allies have Overwhelm. Okay, so he gets an aura, like Nocturne. Nocturne gives allies Fearsome. This Volibear gives allies Overwhelm, which is really strong, especially if you're playing like a Titanic sort of deck. Wow, okay, that's a lot. So I feel like having Volibear leveled up just kind of ends the game. If he gets an attack in, the game's just kind of ending there. So this card's very strong. The main weakness obviously is going to be his 9 cost and dying to any hard removal. But the fact that he does so much when he's played really makes it worth it. And another thing I guess to talk about is his champion spell is 8 mana, slow, Freljord, Stormbringer, deal 4 to all units except Titanic allies, Elemental. That card's a pretty good champion spell. Seems like something you probably might not main deck, but having a board wipe as a champion spell attached is strong. And not to mention it deals 4 to everything except your Titanic allies. So Volibear won't be damaged, Rond won't be damaged. Anything you can buff 8 plus power or health will not take damage. And I think Volibear is just like, honestly, all of the champions that we've seen seem really, really good. Volibear probably seems to be my favorite so far. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. And lucky enough, I have gotten access to early access, so I will be playing some of that and hopefully be posting some videos and get to try out all the new cards a day early. So hopefully you were able to catch me streaming some of it. And if not, then I'm sure you've seen some of my decks running around already. So that'll be it for the card review. The expansion is coming out next Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday, actually. So take a look at it. Lots of exciting new stuff. Season resets as well. So look forward to seeing what everyone has to build and how everyone's feeling about it. Let me know what your new favorite champs are, what decks you're looking forward to, and take care and have a good one.